Hello Bookish friends, welcome to my July wrap-up part 1. In this video, I will talk about 5 books that I finished and 1 book that I DNF'd. And like I did in my previous wrap-ups, I will insert the clips that I've recorded quite soon after I finish those works. Today is the 2nd of July and I finished my first book of the month, which was the book that I was reading for both Go With The Flow challenge as well as my TBR game Roll the Dice, in which I had to read a book from my TBR Wets list. So I chose Bunamaz by Nuran Hariri. Translation of the title is Love Is Not Senile. In this book we follow Canan from her early childhood until her very late years, the time that her husband passes away after suffering from dementia. Although this book resembles a novelish, like the author says, it actually contains anecdotes from Canan's life, along with a lot of flashbacks, and also poems written by her. And it is also sort of like an autobiographical novel because Canan's life very much resembles the author Nuran Hariri's life. Although I was not bored by the book at all, especially the later sections in which her reactions to her husband's illness was quite emotional and a bit tragic to read. However, I have to say, maybe because of this very odd structure of the book, I was not engaged in the book, and fortunately the book was very short, which helped me to finish it. Overall, I gave Aşk Bunamaz by Nuran Hariri a 6 out of 10. Today is the 3rd of July and I finished Zamanı Durdurmanın Yolları, How to Stop Time by Haig. This was a carryover from the month of June, and I started this book for Joy Reading June. In this book, we follow Tom Hazard, who has a very dangerous secret. He looks like an ordinary 41-year-old man. However, he has a rare condition that he ages very slowly, and he actually has been born in the Elizabethan time. He has really lived history, coming up with historical figures such as Shakespeare, Captain Cook, Scott Fitzgerald, and many more. And he has been a part of an organization called Albatros, which protects people who has the same condition as Tom. But the society has one rule, which is never to fall in love. Tom, with his newest identity as a history teacher in England, becomes very attracted to a French teacher. We follow his adventures through flashbacks mixed with the present timeline. I was very impressed by The Midnight Library. And I really like science fiction books that deals with time travel, so I had quite high hopes for this book. Although I enjoyed the book and gave it 7 out of 10, I have to say I was a bit disappointed with this one. The overall plot was quite interesting, and the writing was very clear and on point. However, unlike Midnight Library, I had a hard time connecting with the main character. There was something off about the way that he thought and acted in some situations. So I have to admit, I did not feel much even in quite emotional scenes. But I've heard from my close friends that Haig's other books are better than this one. So I will definitely continue to try books from him. So like I said before, it was a quite decent science fiction book, and I gave Zamanı Durdurmanın Yolları, How to Stop Time by Haig a 7 out of 10. Today is the 6th of July, and I decided to DNF The Letters of Jane Austen. which I was reading for, of course, Jane Austen July. But since I read 20% of the book and finished some of the letters, I will still count this for the prompt of other work written by Jane Austen. The reason that I decided to DNF this collection is that there were so many characters with the same name, so many Marys, so many Johns, so many Edwards, and of course so many Janes. Because Jane Austen was writing many of these letters to her sister Cassandra, she of course did not have to signify who they were to her sister. However, not being an expert on her life, I had trouble understanding what was really happening. But from the part that I've read, I can say that it's clear that Jane Austen was very keen on noticing the details, especially about the way the society acts. And I really do admire her for this strength in her storytelling. Even if I didn't understand whom she was talking about, I still could see that very strong positive point on her writing. Today is the 11th of July and I finished rereading Emma by Jane Austen. Every year I choose a theme for the books that I read, and this year's theme was Emma. And Emma is the last novel that I reread for Jane Austen July. In this book, Emma Woodhouse is a wealthy, beautiful, clever young woman living in the village of Highbury. Confident in her matchmaking abilities, she takes credit for arranging the marriage of her friend Miss Taylor to Mr. Weston, and decides to continue matchmaking as a hobby because she thinks she is excellent at that prospect. She sets her sights on pairing her new friend, sweet by socially inferior Harriet Smith, with the local vicar, Mr. Elton, ignoring Harriet's interest in the farmer Robert Martin. And throughout the book, she interacts with Mr. Knightley, the older brother of her brother-in-law, and considers him as her moral compass and a close confidant. When I rank Jane Austen novels, I consider Emma as my third favorite. After this reread, my opinion has not changed. I think Emma is a character that has the most character development among Jane Austen novels. A good character development is something that I truly value in books. Emma starts as quite vain and also ignorant of people around her, but through her experiences with people all around her, and especially with the help of Mr. Knightley's guidance, she becomes a quite relatable and likable character. The side characters living in Highbury are also quite complex. There's a backstory for almost all of the significant characters in the town. I'm not a big fan of the romance between Mr. Knightley and Emma. However, I think Mr. Knightley is a great friend and a wise advisor for Emma. Additionally, there's something delightful about the subtle wit in this book, especially the character of Mrs. Elton is delightfully annoying. I find it very, very interesting, although this book was written earlier than Victorian works. Jane Austen's writing style is easier for me to understand than the authors that wrote 50 years later. So the language and the writing style is quite approachable. That is probably one of the reasons that makes Jane Austen a quite beloved author. Overall, rereading Emma was a quite joyful experience, and like my original rating, I gave Emma by Jane Austen a 9 out of 10. Today is the 13th of July and I finished one book yesterday evening and one book today. The book that I finished yesterday was titled A Visitor's Guide to Jane Austen's England, and I read this book for Jane Austen July. In this non-fiction book, Sue Wilkes talks about the society in the time period that Jane Austen lived, mainly Regency period. And the book gives small details about transportation, gracious living, socializing and dining, clothes, Money Matters, Shopping and Leisure, Finding the Perfect Partner, and Marriage. I found this book to be quite a good summary of everything related to Jane Austen's time. And I also liked that the author connected some of the fiction works written by Jane Austen along with her letters so that we can see how Austen was heavily affected by the social environment during her lifetime. Although I really do like, especially romance books that takes place in Regency period, after reading this book, I'm very convinced that I would not survive those times. Most probably because of lack of hygiene and of course the insufficiency of doctoral practices. So I quite enjoyed this non-fiction book, and I gave A Visitor's Guide to Jane Austen's England by Sue Wilkes a 7 out of 10. The second book that I finished was the book that I was reading for both category romance online book club and also retro romance readathon. The Bridesmaid Secret by Sophie Weston. This book was written in 2002, so it fitted the parameter of a book written before 2005. This book follows Bella Crew, and she has escaped to New York because her stepsister is marrying the man that she is in love with. She tries to forget him by being the party girl that she always was, and makes a quite impression on the New York club society. But one day she meets a mysterious stranger who seems to be mesmerized by her beauty and her dance moves. She finds herself very much attracted to this dark stranger. This was a quite interesting romance book. And I thought it was a cross-section of old-fashioned romance values mixed with empowerment of female main characters. Both of the main characters had alpha characteristics, of course brought the clashing of the powerful characters. Although I had almost nothing in common with the female the main character, I thought the attraction between them made the book quite interesting. I thought it was a decent romance book, and I gave The Bridesmaid Secret by Sophie Weston a 7 out of 10. So those were the 5 books that I finished, and one book that I DNF'd in the first half of July. Please comment down below, have you read any of the books that I mentioned in this video, and what did you think of them? If you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye. As for Turkish word of the day, I'm going to choose bridesmaid. Bridesmaid means Nedime in Turkish, and Nedime is our Turkish word of the day. Have a good day.